In the vast world where strength reigns and destiny is forged through blood and will, the path of cultivation grows ever more treacherous. Chu Feng stands at the edge of power and peril, his rise stirring both awe and envy within the shadows of the Azure Dragon School. In the previous chapters, hidden talents began to surface, and the fragile balance between allies and enemies started to crack. Secrets whispered in silence now echo with danger, as those who once looked down upon him begin to sense the storm he carries within. Now, in recap, Martial God Asura Chapter 11, Chapter 12. Tensions tighten like a drawn bowstring. Trials deepen, rivalries sharpen, and unseen forces begin to move. Will Chu Feng seize the moment and ascend further, or will the schemes of others drag him into chaos? The legend continues. But every step forward may come at a cost. In the heart of the Chu residence, an electric tension hung in the air, crackling like the edge of a storm. The hall fell silent, as a single voice pierced the stillness. Rank 1 skill. The 100-armed fists has reached mastery. A murmur of astonishment rippled through the assembled crowd, each pair of eyes widening at the sight. Chu Zhen's fists moved with a mesmerizing speed, leaving after images that danced and whirled, a tempest of martial might that threatened to overwhelm anyone who dared oppose him. Though a mere rank 1 technique, mastery rendered it a fearsome weapon, deadly for any unprepared adversary, and everyone knew, with chilling certainty, that Chu Feng stood in grave peril. Chu's brows furrowed, a shadow of worry crossing her delicate features as she stepped 2 cautious paces forward, intent on halting the coming violence. Yet before she could intervene, a whisper brushed against her ear. She turned sharply, startled, to find Chu Cheng smiling, his gaze fixed unwaveringly upon her. Her heart skipped, a silent warning that danger was nearer than she had imagined. The presence of the 2 brothers signaled that Chu Feng would not be spared easily, and an uneasy tension gripped her soul. The hall erupted with the rushing wind of Chu Zhen's fists. Whoosh! 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 Air split as the after-images multiplied, obscuring all sight, as though the very atmosphere conspired to shield the onslaught. Chu Feng stood still, unwavering, as the first strike surged toward him. There was no hesitation, no attempt at flight. He faced the storm with a calm that belied any mortal fear. Whispers ran through the crowd. Is he insane? Why isn't he dodging? Could he even hope to? He is but a trash of the outer court, unworthy of defense. Yet it was in that moment of seeming weakness that the tide turned. A profound aura, immense and unyielding, erupted from Chu Feng's being, a wave of spiritual energy so potent it carried the weight of inevitable destruction. Chu Zhen's confidence faltered, for within that aura he sensed the presence of a cold, merciless killing intent. Whoosh! Before he could recover, Chu Feng's palm struck, faster than thought, crashing into his chest. Pain surged like molten fire, blood and qi rebelling as if the heavens themselves had intervened. Strike after strike followed in blinding succession, each blow precise, shattering Chu Zhen's stance until he fell, powerless and kneeling before the young cultivator. The hall was thrown into stunned silence. No one had anticipated such explosive strength from the one they had long dismissed. Yet the truth was hidden from all but Chu Feng himself. He had restrained his power, holding back the true extent of his might. One strike alone could have ended Chu Zhen entirely. Breathless, eyes wide, Chu Wei finally spoke, awe lacing his voice. 4th level of the spirit realm? The crowd reeled. To triumph over a spirit realm master without martial technique alone required a level few could imagine. And to think this one, long scorned, had reached such heights, it defied belief. Ignoring the murmurs, Chu Feng strode forward with composed steps, collecting the 3 Saint Spirit grasses with quiet authority. Yet before he could leave, a voice thundered across the hall. Chu Cheng, lifting his brother with fury, etched in every line of his face, demanded, "Stop! This is family, yet you attack with such ferocity. Where is your heart?" Chu Feng's lips curved in a gentle, mocking smile. "Family," he replied softly. "You forget that fists and kicks recognize no bond. Injuries bear no witness to bloodlines. Why complain now?" Chu Zhen's teeth clenched as pain and humiliation warred within him. Chu Feng continued, each word a blade. "I have just ascended to the 4th level of the spirit realm, still unfamiliar with my own strength. I honored your skill with full force, yet you, like paper beneath fire, could not endure a single strike. I admit I overestimated you. The words left Chu Zhen pale, rage choking him, every breath a violent rasp, yet he could speak no rebuttal. The rules, once crafted by him and his kin, now bound him utterly. Another challenger rose, yet Chu Feng's gaze swept across the hall, unwavering, daring all to match him with a wager of Saint Spirit grass. Silence followed, heavy with unspoken fear, as none dared risk their lifeline. Even Chu Wei, older and measured, clenched his fists in frustration, yet he too stayed his hand, recognizing the truth in Chu Feng's challenge. Triumph or defeat would brand him in the eyes of others, and no elder sought public ridicule. A ripple of laughter escaped Chu Feng, rich and freeing, echoing through the hall. Before departing, he left them with 2 words, sharp as a sword's edge: "Thinking you are infallible," and self-ridicule. With that, he opened the door and vanished, leaving an atmosphere thick with shame and stunned realization. The would-be humiliation had become their own, and the Chu family's pride lay in tatters before the witnesses gathered. Outside, Chu Feng breathed deeply, a sense of liberation washing through him. Years of oppression, scorn, and injustice seemed to melt away, replaced by a fierce satisfaction. This was not mere revenge. It was the rightful reclamation of his own strength. And as he prepared to step into the light of freedom, a soft, melodic voice called behind him, drawing him back from the moment's triumph. "Chu Feng." It was Chu Yue, her voice carrying warmth and concern, breaking the chill of the afternoon air and binding him once more to the ties of heart and destiny. That night, beneath the silent canopy of the inner court, danger crept unseen. What seemed like a simple walk was already a step into a storm. Chu Feng had long sensed it, and yet he did not turn back. "Chu Yue, why did you come out?" Chu Feng asked, his voice calm, but carrying a trace of confusion. The girl before him rushed forward like a gust of spring wind, laughter dancing in her eyes. Without hesitation, she lifted her delicate hand and lightly struck his chest, her expression bright and full of admiration. "You're really something," she said, her tone playful but sincere. "Back in the outer court, I wondered why you were so composed, as if nothing could shake you. And now look at you. Just one day, and you've already caught up to me." Chu Feng could only smile awkwardly, rubbing the back of his head. "Chu Yu, today caused you quite a bit of trouble. It seems your Chu Alliance gathering won't end very happily." But Chu Ye waved her hand dismissively, her expression firm. "Trouble? Not at all. In fact, it's better this way. Those people needed to be taught a lesson. Otherwise, they'd keep bullying you without restraint." She paused for a moment, then leaned closer, her tone softening with sincerity. "Tomorrow, the spiritual medicine hunt begins. Why don't you come with us? Those spiritual herbs are difficult to capture alone. It's safer in a group." Chu Feng shook his head slowly. "You know how things stand between me and them. Even if I wanted to join, they wouldn't accept me." Chu Yue's brows furrowed slightly, but she quickly brushed aside his concern. "Don't worry about that. Leave it to me." She pulled out a bamboo slip and pressed it into his hand. "This is where we'll gather tomorrow. Just come." Seeing her determination, Chu Feng hesitated for a brief moment, then finally nodded. "All right." A simple answer, but it carried trust. Satisfied, Chu Yue beamed with joy. With a light leap, she turned and skipped back toward the residence, her heart lighter than it had been in a long time. Today, Chu Feng had given her a surprise she never expected. In this world, strength was everything. And now that Chu Feng had revealed his true capability, she began to believe. Perhaps the Chu family would finally see him differently. Her greatest wish had always been simple. A united Chu family, a family without division. But as she stepped before the residence, her smile froze. "Chu Wei, where is everyone?" she murmured. The place was empty. The members of the Chu Alliance had already dispersed. From the side, Chu Cheng and Chu Zhen cast her cold, hostile glances. Without a word, they turned and left, their expressions filled with resentment. Before Chu Yue could react, Chu Wei's voice sounded behind her, stern and heavy. "Chu Yu, I don't want to say this, but today, you went too far siding with Chu Feng." He stepped forward, his tone sharp. "Because of you, not only did he take 2 Saint Spirit grasses from us, we were humiliated in front of everyone. Now the entire group has left in anger. Are you satisfied?" Chu Yue's expression tightened, but she did not retreat. "Chu Wei, if there's fault, then blame me. Don't blame him. No matter what, Chu Feng is still part of our Chu family." She took a step closer, her voice earnest. "And you've seen his strength. He's not the trash you think he is." Her eyes burned with determination. "Our Chu Alliance needs strong people. Why not let him join us?" At those words, Chu Wei's expression shifted. For a fleeting moment, something strange flickered deep within his eyes. He seemed about to speak, but in the end he let out a long sigh. "Ah, I really can't do anything about you." He shook his head as if conceding. "Fine, I'll give him another chance. Bring him tomorrow." For a heartbeat, silence lingered. Then, "That's great! You're the best!" Chu Yue exclaimed, leaping with joy, her smile radiant like blooming flowers under the sun. Chu Wei simply waved his hand. "Enough. Go rest early." With that, he turned and walked away. Chu Yue stood there, watching his figure disappear into the distance, her heart filled with gratitude and excitement. She didn't notice that the moment Chu Wei turned his back, a cold, sinister smile curled upon his lips. At that moment, another figure approached. A young man, newly admitted to the inner court, just like Chu Feng. He had joined the Chu Alliance only today. "Senior Chu Yue," he began, his tone thoughtful. "That Chu Feng, he's hidden himself quite deeply. I've been in the outer court for quite some time, yet I never even heard his name. It feels like he was deliberately waiting for the disciple examination." Chu Yue's eyes widened slightly. "You're right. Perhaps he really stayed for the exam rewards. I wonder if he obtained them." But the young man chuckled lightly, shaking his head. "You're overthinking it. This year's outer court produced a true monster, a fierce character who took first place." He paused, then added with emphasis, "Compared to that person, Chu Feng doesn't even come close." "A fierce character?" Chu Yue's curiosity was immediately ignited. "How fierce are we talking?" The young man's expression turned serious. "Fierce beyond imagination." His voice lowered, as if recounting a legend. 1 rank 4 fierce beasts, 9 rank 3 fierce beasts, and 30 rank 2 fierce beasts, all slaughtered by a single person in the blink of an eye. When the other genius disciples arrived, all they saw were corpses covering the ground. "Tell me, does that not sound terrifying?" Chu Yue's breath caught. Her eyes widened in disbelief. She had passed the inner court examination herself. She knew the strength of those mechanical stages, and she knew just how terrifying fierce beasts were. To annihilate such a number before anyone even arrived, that level of power, at the very least, 5th level of the spirit realm. "Who is this person?" she asked, her voice tinged with awe. The young man sighed helplessly. "I wish I knew." But that person hid their identity. After taking the reward, they didn't even leave through the palace gate. Instead, they vanished without a trace. No one knows who they are. With that, he shook his head and walked away. Chu Yue remained where she stood, her thoughts swirling. So powerful, yet so secretive. Could it be they carry some hidden secret? The more she thought about it, the more curious she became. A new genius rising within the inner court. Perhaps the winds of change were already stirring. Suddenly, her expression changed. Oh no. A memory flashed in her mind. When Chu Cheng and Chu Zhen left earlier, they had not headed toward their own residence. They had taken the same path as Chu Feng. Her heart tightened. Without hesitation, she turned and rushed in that direction. Meanwhile, far from the lively lights of the residences, in a desolate corner of the inner court, Chu Feng walked alone. His steps were steady, unhurried, unafraid, until finally he stopped. Silence settled around him like a suffocating veil. Without turning, he spoke calmly into the darkness. "Stop hiding. Come out." For a brief moment, only the wind answered. Then a voice echoed from the shadows. "You're quite perceptive. Seems I've underestimated you." 2 figures emerged from the darkness. Familiar faces. Chu Cheng, Chu Zhen. Though Chu Zhen's injuries had somewhat healed, the fury in his eyes burned even hotter than before. Deep enough to kill, Chu Cheng stepped forward, his gaze cold and domineering. "Chu Feng, I'll give you a chance." His voice carried absolute authority. "Hand over the 3 Saint Spirit grasses. Then kneel before my brother, kowtow, and beg for forgiveness. Do that, and I might spare you." The air grew heavy, but Chu Feng merely raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" he said calmly. "So you've come to rob me?" Chu Cheng sneered. "And what if we have?" Chu Feng's lips curved faintly. "To rob someone, you need strength." The moment those words fell, the atmosphere shattered. "Strength?" Chu Cheng's eyes flashed with fury. "Then I'll show you what strength truly is." With a sudden burst of motion, his body surged forward. A violent wind erupted behind him. In the blink of an eye, he appeared before Chu Feng, his hand twisted into a claw, and shot straight toward Chu Feng's throat. It was a killing move. Fast, ruthless, decisive. It had to be said, Chu Cheng's power far surpassed Chu Zhen's. Even among those at the fourth level of the spirit realm, he stood among the stronger ones. But standing before him now was not the weakling he believed. It was Chu Feng, the hidden storm, the fierce character who had once slaughtered a rank 4 fierce beast with his bare hands.